when I create the Teams meeting, I just create it with you and me, and then I send that out to everybody else. So you may get something that not everybody gets, a special invitation thing. But it's odd that it would still give you the one from last time. Can we reuse the same Teams meeting over and over every month? I've never tried that. So okay, John, are we ready to keep going? Parker's going to stay there and make sure everybody scans as they come in.
Yeah, people are sure we keep going. Yeah, if you didn't get to scan your face, they're going to try this out.
It's not attendance, it's the drawing for the prizes at the end. If you want to be in the drawing, we're not doing a paper roll anymore. And it won't add you twice if it scanned you once. You want to try and increase the odds of you winning at the end of the.
Hey John, what on your laptop? What is it? What's the app?
Don't even do that one. It's just leave it off. It's fine.
Don't you need your laptop?
You need your laptop?
Yeah.
Alan, would you give us an opening prayer? Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We want to leave plenty of time for the presentation. So welcome to .NET Engineering Forum. We hope that you'll see some really cool technology today. How many people were able to scan their face and recognize you on the first try? Okay, how many people took multiple tries? Or you had to enter your name?
Or it never worked.
Or it never worked, okay. Yeah,
it's probably my fault. I mean, it's kind of, we didn't really test it.
We totally scanned, we took the pictures that's in the HR directory, right? So if it doesn't detect you, you might want to update your picture in HR. That's totally up to you. Especially some of those that have been working here a long time. You got a picture taken for your badge like 20 years ago, and you've changed some, or lost a bunch of weight, or you now have glasses or something. So anyway, it was kind of a fun experiment to have this going, but we are going to use the names that were scanned and recognized for our drawing today. So if you didn't scan your face, make sure that you enter your picture that took today with your name. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with a prayer. We'll have Alan Christian come up and pray for us. Thanks.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful that we can be here and to be employed by the church and to be able to help out the growth. Please help us that we can be in tune and that we can learn and do the things that would be most beneficial, and our minds will be open and clear, and that we can be the best that God wants us to be. We pray for these things in Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, I just have one quick announcement, and that is we have done a research on new technology called serverless computing. Many of you looked at some of the players in the market, and the results and the recommendation of the technology are posted now on Integration Point. So if you go to Integration Point, look under the architecture area, you'll see a white paper on serverless computing. One of the parts of that is function as a service. Probably you're familiar with that. If not, you may want to delve into it and see what our recommendation is. It was a group of multiple people from different teams, and Patrick Stark was from the Architectural Council, was on there. Curtis Smith was one of the authors. So if you have any complaints about it or any questions about it, you can come talk to the .NET Stack team. Anything you disagree with, Curtis Smith is sitting right back in the corner, and you'll want to argue with him about. Okay. Yeah, so take a look at that if you're interested at all about what that technology can bring to your platform, your application. Today we are excited to have a cool presentation. Tony, why did the projector go off? I think the screensaver came. I guess. I can see it. I don't know why you guys can't. Did this thing go to sleep? Okay. All right, so today we're going to have Tony Spencer come up, talk briefly about cognitive services, APIs in general, offered by Microsoft. And then Jon Worthington from the GA portfolio will be talking us through the application that you got to scan your face as you came in, and he'll walk us through how to do that. So, Tony.
All right. I don't want to take too long. I just want to give a quick intro and turn the lights down, I guess. Just a quick introduction to what John's going to be showing us in a minute. John's going to take us through the actual example and code and show just how simple it is to actually leverage some of this stuff. But I just want to talk at a high level about where we are with artificial intelligence. So yes, we really are there. There are a lot of services available that we can leverage. In Azure alone, in cognitive services, there's a number of different categories: vision, knowledge, language, speech, search, and there's more on the way that you can leverage in the cloud. And beneath each of those, there's a bunch of different technologies available in that. So for instance, today we're going to be mostly in vision, the vision section, and particularly on a section known as facial recognition that we're going to take a look at. But there are other things in there. Like you can do custom training. You can teach the machines to recognize certain objects or identify certain types of buildings and stuff like that. You can train custom models for that. But it's all available. But what I really want to touch on more than anything is just kind of get some ideas and some examples of things that we can use in our day-to-day jobs. How do we leverage this stuff? I mean, most of what we do, I mean, how many of you here have been in the business for a while, and mostly what we do is we come up with new and better ways to put a text box on a screen. I mean, is that not what we've been doing for 20 years? We're at a point where we can actually do a lot of really interesting things if we'll take advantage of that. And in today's example, one of the first things we wanted to look at was how could we use vision to do classroom attendance, and that's kind of what our sample application is over there. When we talked about it as a group, as our .NET Stack team, we thought, how quaint is it that we're coming to an engineering forum talking about great technologies, and we're passing around a paper roll. It's a little odd, isn't it? We should be able to do better than that, and we can. And so this is our first pass. We'll tweak the engine a little bit. But what I wanted to demonstrate with this is you'll see over there what we have is an old net-top computer that I bought like, oh man, how long ago was that? Like 6 or 7 years ago. It's using like a second or third generation Atom processor in it, and at the time when I bought it, I think it was under $100. So we're talking not really expensive technology. The webcam we're using is really, really low quality webcam that I got from, I just went into the tech center and I said, hey, you got any old webcams sitting around? And they went and picked the worst one they could find and they gave it to me and I said, yeah, that'll be perfect, let's use it. And then it's just running Windows 10 in what I want to call IoT core simulation mode. And so I haven't actually created an IoT core image for it yet to put on that device, but we should be able to do that. And the advantage of using like Windows 10 IoT core is rather than just regular Windows 10 where you're subject to whenever Microsoft pushes out an update, and when you need it most, it's updating, right? IoT Core gives you a lot more control over that and when updates happen. And you can manage it remotely and lock it down to running just a singular app if you want. And so that's kind of what it's running right now. It's running Windows 10 in kind of an IoT Core simulation mode called, what's it called? Assigned access, I think is what it's called. Okay, so that's one example. With this technology, you can do things like you can have security surveillance. Today, as we badge in to come into work, we're all assuming that we're actually using our badge. We could use a two-factor authentication there, where security cameras could be in sync with the badge system to see, yes, that was Tony Spencer's badge that was swiped, but is that really him that's using it? So.
Which is great for those of us who the system recognizes on the first try.
Well, like I said, it would be exception-based, so what we could do is just have an alert go to somebody to say, hey, is this really this person? And then that person can review it, compare it, where the computer failed, and then they could train it and it could get smarter as time goes on. The idea being is that there's someone who's trying to access our building that shouldn't be, we want to know as quickly as possible. And the quicker that we can be alerted to that, the faster that security can move and do something about it. Catalog index videos with video indexer, that's pretty cool. I just did a project for my in-laws where I took a lot of their old VHS tapes and I digitized them, and we're going to load them up into the cloud. And what they wanted to do is like, we'll split it up as a family and we'll all go watch these videos and see what's on them. And I said, oh, we don't need to do that. We'll use Video Indexer, load it up there. It'll watch them for us. It'll transcribe them. It'll translate them into like 13 different languages, none of which we speak, so it doesn't really matter. But it's going to do it anyway. It's going to identify every person that's in it and put little circle bubbles up there with their faces. And it's pretty cool technology. But there's other things like custom vision to help with manufacturing, OCR and handwriting recognition. How can we use that in our applications today? It's there and it's available and it works pretty well. Content moderation. You can look at the text if we have an open forum where people are talking. It can look for inappropriate content and automatically moderate that for us. Speaker recognition. It can identify who's speaking in a piece of audio or video. Spell check is available today, and speech translation. This is the last one, and I'll get out of the way here. But it was the GSC. I had a conference call with them a couple of weeks ago, and they were looking for one of the problems they have is they have agents who are staffing the phones around the clock, but sometimes they don't understand the language of the person who's calling in, and they were wondering, is there something that can help us in real time, translate the caller who's calling in into English and then our English back into whatever language it is? And the answer is yes, there are APIs available today to do that. So if we wanted to help some of our departments out, if that's a need, it's here today. We need to be looking at how we can leverage this technology to make our customers' lives better. And Curtis has something, but I'm done. So
I was going to say, it might be useful.
This comes up first. This projector's been finicky a lot lately. Okay.
Alright, so this, let me get it over on that screen. So this is my Azure portal, and this is where it's monitoring those calls into the web service. But the one thing I did notice that's a little concerning is we exceeded in a couple instances over 100 calls a minute, and I think my quota is 100 calls a minute. So that may be why a couple of you had some issues. May not. I don't know. We'd have to test it some more. But I probably need to look into see why that happened. So, but today we're going to be building an app that's similar to that app, but one that's a little bit simpler because it won't have all the UI. And this is what we'll be building. Is this app. So, let me get it up on the screen. Sorry. So this app just has a camera, and then on the right-hand side, you can see that it's presenting some data about what my face looks like. So it knows that I'm Jon Worthington, and it recognizes where in the picture my face is, and it also is over here. It recognizes certain landmarks. So if I smile, if I'm like mad, and like can you see the glasses? There should be. Sorry, I looked away. Is there one for glasses? So if I take my glasses off, it should say no glasses. I think you can recognize those kinds of things. So that's what we're going to build is that. So let's just get started. I'm going to put my code over here. Oh, and if you guys want to later on go see for yourself how to do this, I have this GitHub out there. It's just under Worthington JG and then facial recognition. And it's basically just a walkthrough of everything we're going to talk about today. So you can use this as a guide. So we're going to create a new project. We'll shoot this from the ground up. I know it's kind of boring in some spots, but just have patience with me. File. Let's use my real mouse. So we're going to create a UWP app, which is a Windows 10 application. And So we'll do Windows Universal, and we're going to start with blank app.
But this would still work with a web app too.
Yeah, you could do a web app if you wanted to. So. And we'll just say comma 6. Okay. So it is important what version of Windows you have. If you're targeting anything lower than 10.586, then some of these things that are part of Windows won't work. But that's not the cognitive services. That's just some of the UWP specific stuff. So. And you can work around that and use different things. It's not like a huge deal. But. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to get a video feed up on our screen. And to do that, we're going to have to change our package manifest. And we're going to have to tell it that it has permissions to the webcam. So in here, we need to find webcam. And it's down here. And because we're using the webcam, we also have to give permissions to the microphone because they come as a pair. If you don't give a microphone, you'll get an error. The other thing I want to do is when I take a picture of someone, I want to store it on my hard drive. So I'm going to get access to the pictures folder. So with all that, we should be good. And we're going to open up our main page here really quick. And we're going to put some XAML. Now, this is not a XAML tutorial, so we're going to go over that really quick. We're not going to really talk about it too much. But we're going to paste in here a little bit of code that has one really important piece of item in here. So this is going to be our 2 columns. We've defined 2 columns. You can see it's split up there. On the left is this thing called the capture element, and on the right is a text box. So the capture element is the thing that lets you preview a video feed. That's all it does. But it doesn't work by itself. Like if we were to run this right now, you just get a blank screen. So we need to add some code so that we can feed a video feed to that capture element. So over on our main page, we're going to have to do a bunch of stuff async. So we want to override. You can't do async in a constructor. So we're going to go and navigate it too. So when we navigate here, we're going to do a bunch of stuff. And we'll make this guy async so that we can. And what we want to do when this launches is we want to do that. So, and we need, so hold on, we need media capture variable that we'll put at the top. Okay, so this media capture object is pretty cool. It's what lets you connect to the webcam. And so what we're doing here is we're doing up a media capture, we're initializing it, and then we're setting. So the preview element is the thing that's in the XAML. We're setting its source to be that media capture object, and we're just saying start preview. So if we run that now, what you'll get is a video feed. So let's just test it real quick. So it's going to ask us if we'll give permissions, and we are. So yes. And now you have a video feed. So that's pretty simple so far. So the first thing we want to do is we want to detect when a face comes into the video feed. And we want to do that because we don't want to be calling our cognitive service like over and over and over again. We only want to call it when there's a face because we don't care when there's not a face. So we want to detect that locally. So there's a little bit of code that we can use that helps us do that. So we're going to create this thing called a face detection effect. And this is built in to Windows 10 automatically. So you don't have to use any special libraries or anything to do this. And we're going to add the code here and we'll explain it. Okay, so we probably need to resolve some dependencies here. All right. Let's generate that guy. We'll put stuff in a second. All right. And then we want to call this as well. All right. So when the app launches, we're gonna hook up our video feed, and then we're gonna start detecting faces. So all this does is this like plugs in. So Microsoft has like this stream of events that you can plug it into when you're detecting video. And there's a face detected event that can get fired, and you can fire it on a timer. and detect if there's faces. And so when this happens, it's going to call this event that we're going to define, and it's going to do whatever code we put into it right here. So, and that's the code that we're going to put in right now. And this code, and we're going to use this method a lot throughout this, but we're just going to stub it out right now, just so you can see that what it's doing. And so we're going to say async. We're going to resolve these guys. Okay, so the thing I wanted to show you is it's gonna, when it detects a face, it's gonna tell us right here in this red line how many faces is detected. And then if there's 0, it's gonna return. This code, this dispatcher run async, this just makes, we have to run the UI thread for a lot of stuff we're doing. This forces the code that we're doing to run the UI thread because we're in this event, and if we don't do this, we won't run the UI thread. So everything in here we want on the UI thread. And in a minute we're gonna talk about what this code's doing, but right now I just want to run this and show that the face detected code's working. So. Oh, let me actually move that over there. So I'm going to hide that for a second so you can see the debug. So you can see it says 1 face detected down in the debug. Now if I had my face, 0 faces. If Jim came up to next to me, it would say 2 faces. It detects all the faces. So that code works. So great. Now we have an app that's capturing the video stream. It's detecting the face in the video stream. And so now what we want to do is we want to read the frame, and we want to take the image it's captured with the face in it and store it toward the hard drive. Because there's lots of uses for that, right? I mean, you could, every time you saw a face, you could like store off an image and then like analyze it later or whatever. So that's the next thing that we're going to do. So the first thing we have to do is this. And I'll explain code. Just get all this stuff defined. So basically what this code does, and I'm not going to go into super detail, what it basically does is it reads a frame from the video feed. So the video feed's streaming everything onto the screen. This basically uses that media capture object that we defined earlier, and it grabs frames out of it. So here's the media capture. The main magic, besides all the other stuff that's in here, is this line. It's getting that preview frame from the video frame and stuffing it into this frame, and then we're getting the writing bitmap from it, which is what this code's doing. And so once we have that bitmap, we're returning that so we can do something with it. So we're gonna add this code up into here where we say do stuff here. So we'll say await get writable bitmap from preview frame. And we'll do var image. So we should have an image that comes back after that. So now that we have an image, we want to take that and we want to save it, right? Like we want to do something with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to write code that's saved into our pictures library. That's a really convenient place to put stuff. So I'm going to pop up in our pictures library. And in here, I'm going to delete some of these old pictures so that let's delete all these. We can see it show up. Okay. And we're going to configure some more code and we'll talk about that. So this next set of code takes our bitmap, which is right here, and we've got to define all this stuff. Storage file. All right. The only thing that's not so I'll talk about this, but so it takes this bitmap file, and these 2 lines of code, this gets a reference to your pictures folder. And then this line of code basically creates a storage file. We're going to call it photo JPEG. Now you could call it a different photo every single time, but I don't care about caching all the photos forever. I just want to overwrite the same photo every single time. But you could write your own code to do that, right? So, but basically I'm going to take the bitmap here. We're going to open some streams, and we're going to use this code to basically save the stream out to a file. But I didn't want to write my own code to do that, so we are going to use a library called writable bitmap EX, and it's a collection of extension methods that help us do things with writable bitmaps. So we're going to manage our NuGet real quick. Writable bitmap EX. We want this guy installed. now that we've got that, our extension method that takes this, that puts the stream, that reads the stream as a JPEG is defined now, so we don't have to write that code ourselves. So, what am I missing? I'm missing something on the end here. It's this guy, huh? Alright, let's just get that back too. Oops. So, we're going to add the new call there. So save, and this is async, sorry. Var file equals. I'm going to pass in our image. Don't need that extra line there. Let's delete that. Okay, so if we run this now, it should start putting files in our, or a file called _photo in our pictures library. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's put our pictures library up on the screen so you can see it happen. Put this over here too. So you can see photo there. It's changing periodically. So it's my hands.
It's not detecting your face right now.
So yeah, so it does it. So all right. So now we're saving the image off. We're detecting faces. We're getting the bitmap. We're saving it in a storage file. All that's great, but now we want to identify features about the face, like what does the person look like? Is he angry? Is he happy? And it'd be nice to identify who it is. So this is where cognitive services come into play. So up to this point, we haven't used any of the cognitive services, and we need to plug those all in. So before you do this, if you were going to do this yourself, you would need to go into Microsoft Azure and create a cognitive service. And to do that, it's really easy once you have an Azure account. And everyone can use a free account. In my account, for example, if I go over one of these guys, it should tell me how much money I have left.
You can't see it though.
You can't see it? Oh, sorry. Thank you. All right. So one of these notifications tell you how much money you have left, but you get $150 free. So if you guys want to play with these things, just sign up. It's free for everyone here to use, and you can just use your MSD account to do that. So to create a new service,
So then
basically,
you can click on pricing tier, and it'll show what the options are on that middle column.
that's not clickable.
Yeah.
So-
right. That's it.
Right there, yeah.
There is a free tier, so.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to buy it. So
Over to the right, just.
yeah, I'm going to keep going because I don't have a lot of time. So if you want to create a new cognitive services, then you can go into here and you can find, click create resource, and you can do AI machine learning, and then basically the one I'm going to use is face. So you click face, and then there's this whole wizard that you go through. It only asks you a few questions, and there is a pricing tier. The free one is 20 calls per minute, and you can do 30,000 calls per month. I'm on the standard one, and it looks like you can do 10 calls per second. So maybe we probably didn't exceed that, hopefully. But, and then, yeah, and that's the one I chose to use. So I'm not going to actually create it because we already have one. So then if you go to your dashboard and go to your cognitive service that you created, the overview tab is what's important for you here. You'll need this URL, this endpoint, and then if you go to manage keys, you'll need one of these keys, and it doesn't matter which key you take. Just grab one of them, and those are the two things you'll need, and we'll use those in our code here in a second. So, I actually need that back up. Sorry. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull in cognitive services. So Microsoft's written an SDK for us that basically it wraps all the cognitive services. It creates it defines all like the data models for us, and it basically wraps all of the REST API calls that we're going to be making, so we can just use their SDK. And so you certainly don't have to use this, but it does expedite some things. So we're going to use theirs. And the one we want is this one. So we want to go to browse. So it's Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services Vision.face. And this is pre-release, so you have to make sure you click this checkbox. This is include pre-release because this is all new stuff, right? So, so this is the one we want, and they're releasing quickly. Like between when I started this app and now, they've already got 2.2 out, but 2 works. 2.2 has some breaking changes. So make sure if you're following my tutorial on GitHub, use 2, unless you want to deal with the breaking changes. So, which is fine. You just have to make some changes to make that work. So we'll import that.
So John, I did use the 2.2 yesterday, and there was only about 4 or 5 things.
Okay,
So it's really close to your code. There's about just 4 or 5 things.
great. All right, so that's added in. So now we're going to start implementing the facial recognition. So this bit of code that I'm adding at the top are a few variables that we'll need. And by the way, I'm not using, this tutorial is meant to go really fast. I'm not using any good code practices. I'm not doing a lot of error checking. Like I wouldn't really write code this way on the code behind, or like I'll just like lump together. But this is so we can iterate fast and demo. So I have face client. This is the object or the class that does the face detection in the cognitive service. So we need to define this guy. And then your subscription key is the key that I told you you need from that Azure portal. So I'm going to copy that real quick and put it into here. Don't copy my key, please. And then this API route, I already had this in here, but you can get that from your dashboard too. I just already had it there. And then the last thing you need is this thing called a person group. So a person group, when you define identities in Azure, they use these things called people groups, or person groups. And so like let's say you have a group of friends and you want to identify them. You would call maybe my friends, but let's say you had another group of people that were employees. And you wanted to define employees, they'd be your employees, and you'd categorize people into these groups. So we're going to leave this as, actually, we'll do a new group. We'll call this a new group. I mean, it doesn't really matter. So there's our new group. Okay, so first thing we need to do is on Navigated to, we need to new up our face API, or our face client. So here's our face client, and we are passing it the subscription key, and we're also passing it the API route so that it knows about those things. So that just moves that guy out. And then we're going to use that all throughout the rest of our code. So the first thing we need to do is this face group doesn't exist. And stuff will crash if we don't tell the code how to deal with that. So we're going to create a little method that will create that face group for us. So we'll just start right here. And let's define some of these things, talk about those. All right, so a person group, just function F12 that so you can see what it is. So a person group just basically has an ID, and then it also has some identifying information about it, which is like the name, and then you can also store some user data here. And you probably store JSON in here, right? I mean, it's not. But the idea here is we're going to call the face client, and we're going to say, get this underscore person group ID. Let's see if it exists, basically. So we're going to look for a new group. And if it doesn't exist, it's going to throw this error. And if the error code is person group not found, then we're going to create a new person group with that ID and that name, and then we're going to train it. So this extra statement, you have to retrain, you have to basically retrain the model to understand that there's a new group. Every time you make a change, you always retrain. So now what we want to do is we want to call this probably the very first, stick it right here. We're going to call it, just make sure I'm not in the wrong spot. So right after knitting our face client, we're going to call in await and face group. So it will go out to Azure and create that group for us. So now that we have a group, we are ready to start doing finding faces. So we're going to create another method. This method will basically go out and it will take the file that we took the map, we put it in a storage file. It will take that storage file and it will send it up to the cognitive service and tell some information about it. So that's what this does. So we pass in a storage file, and we're going to return a list of detected faces. And this is, detected faces is defined by their SDK. And we can look at that really quick. So basically, we get that face ID back, and then we also get a face rectangle, some face landmarks, and some face attributes. And we'll talk about what those things are. And in our call here, we're saying, all right, face client, go out and detect the faces, basically. And we're saying we're going to look for these attributes: gender, age, whether they're smiling, we're looking to look for their emotion, do they have glasses, and what's their hair like. And there's other parameters you can do in here, like I'm setting face landmarks to false. I don't care about the landmarks. The face landmarks are like how long is their nose, how, it's all the dimensions of your face. And we could say true there if we wanted to, but I chose to say false. So we're going to go ahead and call that method now. And let's do that right here. And here. Faces. We'll pass in our file. We're going to await that. Our faces. Wait. And then we're going to uncomment some of this code really quick so that we can see this in action. So we're going to pass in faces. So this will just basically take the object, deserialize it as a JSON, and we're going to stuff it into our text box on the screen. So now we'll see if it all worked, right? So let's go ahead and run it.
What could go wrong?
So this is recognizing our face locally, storing it to the file, sending that file out to Azure, and they're gonna tell us about our image. So. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so now you can see it's reading everything. So if the face rectangle changes while I move my head. I think the lighting here makes it hard for the camera to see. You can see it's. Yeah, so it's returning data. So success. And you can modify what you're asking for. If we were asking for face landmarks, that would be coming back too. But we're not. So
90% bald.
I'm very bald. All right, so great. We're detecting faces. The next thing that we need to do, though, is we want to identify faces. Who am I? Because that data was not coming back in that call. So there's a second call that identifies faces. And so as you do this, like if you create one of these services, let's just show this really quick. On your overview tab, actually, it's not your overview tab. If you open up your cognitive service,
We don't see that.
if you open your cognitive service, there's this face API reference. You can click that, and it basically outlines all the stuff that we're using today, right? It tells you how you could go call this and get data back, right? So, and like I said, you don't have to use your SDK. You can actually make the post, if you wanted to. So, let's just put this back over here. All right, so let's put our next function call in there. Talk about it. All right, so the next thing we're doing here is we're going to identify faces. So we're going to pass in those faces that we detected, and each face came back. Let's just look in here and show you. So detected faces have a face ID, and then we already saw a face rectangle and some landmarks and some attributes. The face ID is kind of what we're concerned with here, though. So because we're going to use that to pass to this next method. So this next method returns something called an identify result. So again, this is all part of their SDK, but it returns a face ID, and then it returns a list of candidates of who it thinks that image might be. So and each candidate has a person ID and then a confidence. And so like in that app over there, I think the default threshold is 50%. So if some of you had the experience where it thought you were somebody else, I kept the default threshold at 50%. So if there's a 50-50 chance, if it thought you were somebody else, then it could have identified you as somebody else. But what you can do is you can tweak that threshold. The other thing I was doing is I was taking give me back a list of people, and I was taking the first match because I didn't want to code past that. I didn't have time, right? So there's things you can do to optimize that application and this application. For simplicity, we're going to probably take the first match, but you can use that confidence level to tweak how this works and get a better confidence on. And also, the more images you upload of a person, the more accurate the model is. Like for all you guys, the people that did recognize in here, I uploaded one face, and it was your thumbnail from the directory. So the fact that it worked at all is kind of a little miracle. Like it shouldn't have actually worked, really. So we're gonna return a list of this identify result. So what we're gonna do is in here, we're gonna check the status, because if that face group hasn't been created yet, then if it fails, we don't want to try to detect faces, but we'll get errors. So this just says if there's no face, basically if there's a failed status, don't try to identify it. But if there's not a failed status, then go ahead and we're gonna take the face IDs out of those lists of faces and we're gonna pass it to this identify service. So let's go call this really quick. Never mind, sorry. Identify. We're going to pass in the faces, and we're going to get faces back, or we're going to get identities back. Yep. And I guess we could, yeah, let's just do it. We'll put identities here, right? Okay, so let's run that really quick, just to see it run. So now keep in mind, we created a new face group, right? That face group doesn't know who I am yet. So when it tries to identify me, it's going to say, I don't know who the heck you are. So let's get it to do it. See how there's an empty, see how it's empty? It doesn't know who I am because it's a new face group. So we need to teach it who I am. So we're going to do that in a second. If I passed it a different face group, one that already has faces, it would immediately start identifying me. But for demonstration purposes, we're gonna go ahead and do that in a second. So the next thing to do to make this really useful is, so far we have all this data that we've gotten back. We've got faces, we've got identities, and we also have, in those identities, we have a list of candidates, and we want to kind of like lump all that stuff into something that we can use. And so this next step is something that I just created an object to help me do that. So we're gonna go ahead and do that really quick. We're gonna add a new class, and it's gonna be called identification. Paste it in here. So basically, this is just my way of. You could do your own way, right? But we're gonna track all the data we've gotten back. So we've got this person that we need. We've got the identifier. So we haven't gotten a person yet. I'll show you how we're gonna get that in a second. But we're gonna get a person back in a second because we're gonna take those identities that came back and pass it to another service that's gonna give us who those people are. And then the identifier result, we already have that. The text face, we already have. Confidence, we already have. So we're going to do this next step. Right now, use this. So this next one looks like it's a lot of code, but really it's actually really simple. So basically, this is going to take the list of identities that we got, and it's going to take the list of faces, and it's going to kind of marry them. So it's going to loop through all the faces, and it's going to say, for that face ID, was there an identity? Yes or no? And then it's going to new up this new object, and it's going to default to being an unknown person. And then it's going to add it to this list that we're returning. Well, if there was an identity, so if the identity wasn't null, and there was at least one candidate, we're going to just grab that first candidate. And then we're going to take that candidate, and we're going to pass it to one more cognitive service. We're going to say, all right, great, we have a candidate, pass that person into this cognitive service and get back a person object. And we're going to use that person object here, which will give us the person's name. And because if you look inside person, this is part of their SDK. A person has a person ID. It has persisted faces, and it also has, if you go all the way down deeper, a name. And that's the name is kind of what we're looking for here. But so this will, and then we're going to return a result. So this will kind of return this object. It's kind of like married all these pieces together because we've got a person, we've got his face, we've got a confidence level that we're setting up here on our actual one, and we've got this identified result. So we're going to call this now. Wait, extract. I don't know if I named that a great name, but oh well. So we're going to pass the identities in, and the faces, and we'll get the result. Our candidates. Okay, and just so that we can see data come back, I'm going to switch the face group really quick, just to be a group that I know has data in it. And my friends is the one I'm using for the test that we did today. So now it should identify me because I switched the face group. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So there's Jon Worthington. Yep, they knew who I was. And see, here's the identifier. Oops, I have to keep looking. Sorry. Yeah, so I'm gonna look sideways so I can see the screen. Here's our identifier result. Here's the face ID that's coming back from those calls. And here's the candidates. And you can see this is how confident. Well, that's how confident it is that it's me.
75.
It keeps changing. See, so that app was doing the exact same thing, right? So the last thing I want to show is how to add a new person into your group. So I'm going to switch this back to the previous group. So there's no faces in new group, and we're going to do that last step. So and that's right here. So we're going to change some of the XAML. Like I said, this isn't a XAML tutorial, so we're going to gloss over this quickly. But basically, it's the same code as before. We had 2 columns, and we had our capture element and our text box, but now we've got an extra row at the bottom. And it's got basically a text box and a button. And when you click the button, it's going to call this add person button click method, which we're going to define right now. So I guess we can put this anywhere right now. Generate that field. So we've got a Boolean called add person. Now, and I wouldn't do this normally this way, but this is the easiest way to get it to work without changing the whole code base. And so we're just setting a variable to true whenever you click that button called add person. So once the add person, we're going to use that variable to check to see if we need to add a new person, which at that point it will read the text box, and then it will try to add that person's image and their name as a person. So if this isn't real code, but I would probably want to really do it like this, but because it was easy to implement this way, that's why I did it this way. So we'll add one last method here. It's called add person. So it's going to take our storage file, which is the image that we capture from the video frame. And if add person is not true, then we're just not going to go into this code, right? But if it is true, then we're going to open up that file. And then we're going to basically call some cognitive services methods. We're going to call this one, which creates a person async. And in the person group, it creates a person in a person group. So that's why it's person group person create async. We pass it the person group ID, and we pass it in the name from the text box. And then here we add. Basically, we've got the stream that is this file, right? We pass in the image. This basically adds the face of the person. And then this retrains the model to know that face. If you don't call this train, it won't actually know who you are. So we will go ahead and call this method now. We're just going to throw it in here. It doesn't really matter where we put it. Person. And we're going to pass in the file. So at first, it's not going to. So it's going to keep this face. This gets called every time a face is detected, and so like there's going to be you'll see a short delay while it does all this, but you'll see what I mean. We'll go and do it. So. All right, so it should come up and it should know who I am first. So see, it doesn't know who I am. I'm unknown, right? So this text box at the bottom, we're going to put my name in. This is Jon Worthington. So then we're going to click Add Person. Let's make sure it's got my face. And now notice where I am, Jon Worthington. And it's getting out from the cognitive service directly. So
Getting younger.
my age is changing. All right, so that's pretty much it. I mean, if you look at this, it's really not that lot. It's really not a lot of code. There's only 300 lines of code, and most of the code wasn't calling the cognitive services. Most of the code was setting up the video feed and like storing stuff to files and stuff like that. Opening the bitmap. Calls to the actual cognitive services are really simple. So it's fun to play with. I encourage you guys all to go out there and do it. On my GitHub, like I said, there's this project which it's just Worthington JG, and then it's facial recognition. I also have the face roll is out there as well if you want to go look at that. The code's there for that. It's right here. And then I have another app called Face Manager, and it lets you, you can't visualize, maybe I'll just quickly show that. If you're interested in doing cognitive services, Face API Manager. So once you've created all these face groups, there's no way, Azure doesn't give you a way to see what's in your face groups. So I'm just calling all of their services to get this data. So you can choose a face group, like this guy and my friends, I could delete it. Or you can click edit, or I could go to prophets, for example. I could click edit. These are all of church leadership. I could look at Howard W. Hunter, and he has all these faces defined in here. And I could delete one or whatever. So this just lets me manage my face groups, if it's got bad data or to see what's in there. So my friends is the one we use today. So these are all the people I trained it on. But you can see most people only have one image. And it's a thumbnail from the directory. So the fact that it worked today on anybody, yeah. So anyways, that's it.
Okay, we want to thank Jon for presenting. Here's your Service Warrior card for